Been announced a couple of days before Christmas. In other words, just a little bit over a week ago. Now today he says he was surprised by the controversy.
We are not wealthy people, and we understand that $4.5 million is a lot of money. However, in the last week we have had time to consider the unique amount of time, the unique moment of time in which we find ourselves. This is the time many of us have worked hard for, a time when we can make changes in Washington and throughout the country. Therefore, it is clear that this is not the time to take any steps which could be seen as weakening our commitment to the contract with America and our focus on reestablishing a House and a legislative branch worthy of the American people's respect.
Gingrich complained about those who he said resisting change for taking him on and making an issue out of this book deal. Among those who has been leading the charge against Newt Gingrich is Congressman David Bonnier, who will soon be the minority whip, the number 2 person in the Democratic hierarchy. He, in fact, is holding a news conference to respond to the Gingrich news conference, Bonnier's news conference, if you're keeping track of all this. Bonnier will be on the air live on CNN in about 10 minutes. Bob Franken, CNN Live, Capitol Hill.
Bob, the representative had mentioned that he had received some advice not to take individual advantage of the gains the Republicans had made as a group. Will the fact that he's still accepting royalties make any difference?
Well, he points out that there are 23 current members of Congress, both the House and the Senate, who have written books that, in fact, have brought royalties to people. The uproar over this was the huge amount of this advance, $4.5 million. That's what he says he's giving up.
CNN's Bob Franken on Capitol Hill. Thank you very much. Lou?
Army pilot Bobby Wayne Hall should be touching down on U.S. soil in about 2 to 3 hours. Hall took off from Seoul 6 hours ago, ending an incident that had threatened warming relations between the U.S. and North Korea. Hall's first stop will be Alaska's Elmdorf Air Force Base. That stop for refueling. Then later tonight, he'll be reunited with his family at MacDill Air Force Base in Florida, about 40 minutes from his home in Brooksville, Florida. CNN's John Lewis has been following the story from Seoul, South Korea.
Friday morning, U.S. Army Chief Warrant Officer Bobby Wayne Hall walked out of North Korea to freedom. He crossed the Korean DMZ at the truce village of Panmunjom after having been held in North Korean custody for 2 weeks. He was met by U.S. Deputy Assistant Secretary of State Thomas Hubbard, the American envoy who had traveled to North Korea to facilitate Hall's release.
I was extremely pleased to see Bobby Hall walk across the DMZ just a few minutes ago. I just had 2 rather difficult days in Pyongyang working out this issue. I'm pleased to see that in the final analysis, the North Korean government took our humanitarian concerns into account and agreed to return Chief Warrant Officer Hall to us.
An hour later, Hall arrived at the U.S. 8th Army headquarters in downtown Seoul. He looked in good shape and was whisked away for a brief physical examination and a debriefing by U.S. military officials here. Then a flight home.
And I would also like to thank all the sailors, soldiers, Marines, and Air Force for all their help, and Mr. Hubbard, Congressman Richardson, for all their help in my speedy return back to the United States, or back to the free world.
Given that a state of war still exists on the Korean Peninsula, Hall's release was welcomed news to South Korea, too. The Foreign Ministry in Seoul said it hopes this is an indication of a new willingness on the part of the North to talk, rather than to rely on propaganda broadcasts across the DMZ. Later Friday at a press conference in Seoul, Hubbard laid to rest concerns here that Washington would strike new bilateral deals at Seoul's expense.
Well, I'm not saying that the North Koreans did not raise any new issues, but I am saying that there are no new issues recorded in this agreement.
This latest incident has ended successfully, but many here caution against any overly undue optimism, given the heavily fortified borders between the two Koreas. And if history is any guide, there will be others. John Lewis, CNN, Seoul.
The yellow ribbons will soon be coming down in Brooksville, Florida. The town of about 7,500 people has rallied around Bobby Wayne Hall's family during the past 2 weeks, an anxious 2 weeks for all. CNN's Sean Calebs is in Brooksville and joins us with more on the town's reaction. Sean?
Well, Joe, in a matter of hours, the Hall family will gather here and they'll all load up in a military transport and make the hour or so drive south to MacDill Air Force Base just outside Tampa, and that's where the happy reunion is set to take place. Now, we spoke with Hall's wife, Donna, a short while ago and asked her how she dealt with the trauma, all the stress of the situation the past 2 weeks, and her answer, plain and simply, was, I winged it. The Hall family says they really leaned on each other during these times, turned to each other when the stress just became too much, and it was nice to have so many friends and relatives in the area. Now, but the days of frustration and anxiety, they say, are giving way to excitement and anticipation.
He sounded very tired, but other than that, he's fine.
Donna, through all of this, you never gave up hope. Why?
Because I had faith in the government and faith in my husband.
Was it a tough Christmas thinking he might be home in time and then?
In a way, but I made Christmas very happy for my children. That was my main concern.
What did you tell your kids about it?
I did not lie to them. I told them the truth.
Which was?
Where their daddy was, what he was doing, and why.
Well, really, for the past 13 days, the town of Brooksville has been wrapped up in yellow ribbons, and the signs that once urged Hall's speedy and safe return are now welcoming him back. And now the Yellow Ribbon campaign really started off as a trickle and steamrolled, really, the week leading up to Christmas, and that's because of a number of people in the area who dedicated their time to that effort, including Billy Bird. I see you're all decked out in your patriotic garb today.
Yes.
Tell me how you and others got involved in all this. I mean, you know the Hall family, but not extremely well. What made you, what was the driving force behind all this for you?
Well, we had seen other captures before, and we were afraid he would be tortured or something. And we're Americans, and we stand behind our boys 100%. And we felt anything at all that we could do, anything. And that's why we made all the ribbons we did and went up and down the streets and plastered them all over the place.
Now, you moved to this area just a couple of years ago. Tell me what you think you've learned about this community the past 13 days.
Oh, that everybody pulls together. It's a small community. Everybody knows everybody, and everybody loves everybody.
Now, tell me what's happening right now. There are actually people out there putting up new signs, making sure the yellow ribbons are going to be there so Bobby can see them when he comes back through here.
We're leaving up the old signs and the ribbons, and we're putting new signs under them, welcoming him home. We're going to have a dinner for him. Hopefully the town will have a parade for him. Julia Jenkins, she normally organizes all that. Our adrenaline is just a-flowing.
Just an exciting time for everyone
yes,
here.
Yes, very much so.
Well, Billy, thanks very much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
And again, the family says it'll be gathering here sometime after dinner this evening to make the short drive down to the Tampa area to MacDill Air Force Base, and they expect the reunion will take place sometime this evening, probably after 10:30, and we'll, of course, bring you all the information leading up to that reunion. I'm Sean Caleb, CNN, reporting live from Brooksville, Florida.
And at the White House, Hall's release, as you might expect, is being welcomed as very good news. CNN's John Holloman is at the White House to fill us in. John.
Lou, first an update for Sean Caleb's. We've just talked to a senior military official who says it is most likely that Bobby Hall won't get home to the Air Force Base closest to his home in Florida till about midnight Eastern time. So Sean was suggesting maybe he'd be home late in the evening or sometime earlier in the evening tonight. Probably won't happen until midnight from what we're told. A senior military official has just told reporters in Washington that Chief Warrant Officer Hall doesn't know if his helicopter was shot down by North Korea or not. He has told briefers that as he was demonstrating how to patrol the no-fly zone between North and South Korea to his co-pilot, David Heilman, the engine quit. There was some damage to the windshield, and the helicopter began falling to the ground. The pilot says he never saw any tracer bullets and that he thinks he was shot down, but he has no direct evidence of that. Helicopters have the ability to fall slowly as long as the rotor blades on top are turning, and they were. So it was not a crash landing, he said, but after the aircraft dropped from its cruising altitude of about 1,000 feet up and hit the ground, there was a fire. Hall says that he got out safely, but the senior official is unclear as to whether Chief Warrant Officer Heilman got out before the fire, and at this point nobody is sure, or nobody is saying at least, what killed Officer Heilman. Hall has confirmed to debriefers on the ground that he was off course, but he didn't know that he was in North Korea. He said this over and over and over again. He says he was generally well treated by the North Koreans. He got a lot to eat, and he said he was able to get a lot of rest. He
talked a little bit to these debriefers about this confession note that we have seen over the past couple of days. He said he never considered it a confession to anything. He says he stated in the note that he was off course, lost in fact, when his helicopter went down. And he said that the North Koreans urged him to write a different, stronger note, but that this is what he was willing to write. Here at the White House, with helicopter pilot Hall's release, President Clinton and his wife were able to leave for a few days away from the nation's capital. Mr. Clinton has not said anything about this incident since last night when he told reporters he'd spoken to Bobby Hall, who told him that he was doing well. Administration officials have said over and over again there's no evidence that Hall was mistreated. The president has been much in the news in the past couple of days. He's conducted year-end interviews with groups of reporters here at the White House where he talked about his future. Mr. Clinton, in one of those interviews, confirms he intends to seek re-election, but that it is not uppermost in his mind, and that if it had been uppermost in his mind, he would never have taken on what he calls all these tough battles and all the interest groups he's taken on in the past couple of years. The Clintons are hoping to recharge their batteries over the next few days. They're at Camp David, Maryland right now, the presidential retreat. Some point tomorrow they'll leave there, fly to Hilton Head, South Carolina for the Renaissance Weekend, something that's an annual event for them and hundreds of other people. And then finally, Mr. Clinton and his family will go to Arkansas to meet with other family and friends. The president will be back here first week in January when Congress gets back in town. It'll be the first time the president gets to be in Washington when the House and Senate of the United States are both controlled by Republicans. John Holloman, CNN Live at the White House.
The Republican contract with America calls for congressional term limits to limit the power of Democrats. As Republicans move into the majority on Capitol Hill, their promise could turn against them.
And a judge gives veterans extra time to seek compensation for injuries decades in the making. NewsHour continues in a moment.
I want to know about meeting that special someone.
Sorry, can't help you there.
I want to know more about a diet I can live with.
No way, not in this commercial.
I want to know more about Rogaine.
Rogaine with minoxidil?
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, just call this number now for a free information kit on Rogaine topical solution. It could help answer your question because it's filled with all kinds of facts about Rogaine. And because you need a prescription to get Rogaine, we'll send you a list of local doctors and special money-saving offers to help you decide if Rogaine is right for you.
But I want to know right now.
We'll mail it to you today. So what are you waiting for? Call now for your free information kit. Call 1-800-446-9333.
The following is CNN's coverage of a live event.
One of the chief critics of incoming House Speaker Newt Gingrich's book deal is incoming House Minority Whip David Bonnier. He is commenting on Representative Gingrich's giving back the $4.5 million advance.
Is not for sale. I would suggest to you that he didn't see the light so much as that he felt the heat. This $4.5 billion book deal not only outraged the public, it even outraged leaders of his own party, and he had no other choice to back down. Mr. Gingrich was here just a few minutes ago talking about the calls that he received from Mr. Kemp and the advice that he received from Mr. Walker, the man from Pennsylvania, as he referred to him, and other leaders of his party who expressed their views with respect to this deal. The fact that Mr. Gingrich retreated on this one issue does not clear the ethical cloud that is hanging over his head. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There is a whole series of unanswered questions for which Mr. Gingrich must come clean. First, the difference between Mr. Gingrich's book deal and the book deals made by Al Gore and others is that Mr. Gingrich was going to take an unprecedented $4.5 million from a man who not only has a direct interest in federal legislation, but who has a multi-billion-dollar case pending before the Federal Communication Commission. This raises serious questions about appearance and about the conflict of interest. Second, The book that Mr. Gingrich is writing is based on a college course which itself, and this is important, which itself is the subject of an ethics investigation. And third, we have here a man whose judgment was seriously called into question over a deal involving $4.5 million. Yet over the past 9 years, Mr. Gingrich has run an empire that has raised between $10 and $20 million. Yet we still don't know where that money came from because Mr. Gingrich refuses to disclose the names of the past GOPAC contributors. So if we can't trust Mr. Gingrich on a $4.5 million book deal, what about an empire in which $20 million changed hands? I'm here today to do three things. To wish you a happy holiday season. Secondly, to call on Mr. Gingrich once again to release the names of the past contributors to GOPAC. And thirdly, I'm calling on the Ethics Committee once again to appoint an independent, nonpartisan, professional outside counsel to look into these serious questions. As a wide range of organizations have said, including Public Citizen, the New York Times, Richard Phelan, who ran the investigation, former speaker, the only way to get to the bottom of this is to take it outside of politics and to appoint an outside counsel. Mr. Gingrich made a name for himself by crusading as the champion of reform. Well, this incident proves that he's really the champion of the old order. And once again, it just goes to show that when you're dealing with Newt Gingrich, his actions speak much louder than his words.
Do you have any idea how much money he might make from royalties? Are you concerned about that?
Well, he could make $4.5 million from royalties. I mean, if the book sells well, and I suspect by the press conferences that I've been holding, I don't hurt his prospects in reaching that number. And of course, it will come from the source in which the controversy has been swirling around, and that is the publishing house, which is a subsidiary of the conglomerate that's owned by Rupert Murdoch.
So are you suggesting that he should just not do this book deal, or that he should go to another publishing house? I mean, what would be?
No, I'm not going to go suggest that. That's his decision. If he wants to spend the time and write, he's in the process of writing 3 books right now, and I don't know how he can do that and frankly be Speaker of the House of Representatives. It's a full-time job. And I saw him just a few minutes ago saying that he wants to take this out of, put the members of Congress back into, and I think his words were he was elected to lead this country, not to be up for sale by the highest bidder. This is a full-time job here. People who work in this job work, 12, 14, 16 hours. I don't know how you can write 3 books. I mean, I've written a book before. I know the effort it takes to do that. I don't know how you can put together 3 books and do that. I mean, the ethics are clear on this in terms of our own time. The reason we moved away from honoraria speeches and getting funds for that, we moved away from other jobs and outside incomes, is so that people could devote their attention here and so that we could get rid of the appearance and the actuality of conflict of interest. And I think he's got to deal with that question. He hasn't faced it yet.
So now that he's turned down the advance, does that mean that your questions, your problems you had with Rupert Murdoch and that whole connection are now gone?
I'm concerned on the telecommunications issue in a broader sense. I'm concerned